Picture this. You've poured your trust into someone, your colleague, your friend, your lover, only to feel the cold steel of betrayal slide between your ribs. The pain is visceral, the shock immobilizing. Your world tilts, and every instinct screams for you to lash out, to cry, to demand justice. But pause. What if I told you that this moment, this searing wound, is not your downfall? What if it's the crucible where true power is forged? Stay with me, because today you'll uncover the art of wielding the silent blade, a strategy rooted in the timeless wisdom of Niccolò Machiavelli to transform every stab into a stepping stone to dominance. This isn't just a lesson, it's a revolution in how you navigate a world teeming with traitors. Will you let betrayal break you, or will you rise as the untouchable master of the game? Let's begin. Part 1. The inevitability of betrayal. Betrayal is not a possibility, it's a certainty. In the grand arena of power, whether it's the sleek glass towers of corporate boardrooms, the whispered alliances of social circles, or the intimate bonds of family, no one escapes its shadow. Niccolò Machiavelli, the Renaissance genius whose name is synonymous with cunning, laid bare this truth in The Prince. Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims for his deceptions. Trust is a currency, and betrayal is its inevitable tax. The colleague who steals your idea and presents it as their own, the friend who leaks your confidences for social capital, the partner who shatters your heart with infidelity. These are not outliers, they are the rules of the game. Yet, here lies the divide between the weak and the powerful. The weak succumb to betrayal's sting. They weep, they rage, they retreat into self-pity, letting the wound define their story. Their emotional outbursts become chains, binding them to their pain. The powerful, however, see betrayal for what it is. A move on the chessboard of power. They don't mourn, they strategize. They don't bleed, they build. They anticipate betrayal as a seasoned general anticipates an enemy's ambush, preparing not to avoid it, but to exploit it. In our modern age, we're conditioned to believe that transparency and emotional openness are virtues. Social media platforms thrive on oversharing, every thought, every grievance, every moment of vulnerability broadcast to the world. Workplace cultures reward those who speak loudly, who self-promote relentlessly. But this is a trap. Machiavelli knew better. In The Prince, he wrote, "He who is prudent speaks little and listens much." This is the first lesson of power. Silence is not weakness, it's the armor of the untouchable. While others spill their souls, the silent strategist observes, calculates, and prepares to strike. Betrayal is inevitable, but your response is not. Will you be the victim who crumbles or the predator who thrives? Consider the stakes. In a world where information is power, every word you speak, every emotion you reveal, is a potential weapon in the hands of a traitor. The colleague who nods sympathetically while you vent about your boss may be relaying your words to secure a promotion. The friend who likes your vulnerable post may be screenshotting it for gossip. The lover who promises forever may be plotting their exit. This is not cynicism. It's reality. Betrayal lurks in every corner, disguised as loyalty, friendship, or love. The question is not whether it will happen, but how you will respond when it does. Part 2. The Anatomy of Strategic Silence. Strategic silence is not about being mute or passive. It's not the silence of cowardice or defeat. It's the silence of control, the pause before the storm, the calm that precedes a devastating strike. It's the art of withholding your words, your emotions, and your intentions until the moment is ripe. Machiavelli understood this implicitly. In Discourses on Livy, he noted, The wise man does at once what the fool does at last. The fool reacts impulsively, driven by emotion. The wise wait, observe, and act with precision. Let's ground this in a modern context. Imagine you're in a high-stakes meeting, and a rival undermines your proposal with a sly comment. Your blood boils. Every fiber of your being wants to fire back, to defend your work, to expose their deceit. But what if you don't? What if you lean back, smile faintly, and say nothing? In that moment, you shift the dynamic. Your silence unnerves your rival. They overplay their hand, revealing their insecurities or overconfidence. Meanwhile, you gather intelligence, their motives, their weaknesses, their allies. You've turned their attack into your advantage, all without uttering a word. Strategic silence operates in three distinct forms, each a weapon in the arsenal of power. Informational silence. The less you say, the more you learn. In negotiations, the one who speaks first often reveals too much, giving their opponent the upper hand. By staying silent, you force others to fill the void, exposing their intentions, fears, or plans. Think of a poker game. The player who betrays their hand with nervous chatter loses. The one who remains inscrutable wins. Authoritative silence. Words spoken sparingly carry weight. A leader who dominates every conversation dilutes their authority. One who listens, observes, and speaks only when necessary commands respect. Consider Steve Jobs during his iconic keynotes. His pauses weren't accidental. They built anticipation, amplified his message, and cemented his aura of untouchability. Retaliatory silence. After betrayal, the urge to confront or retaliate is overwhelming, but immediate action often plays into the traitor's hands. Silence, however, is disarming. It forces the betrayer to question their success, to wonder what you're planning. While they stew in uncertainty, you plot your counterstrike with cold precision. In a world addicted to noise, endless tweets, viral TikToks, 24/7 news cycles, silence is a superpower. It's the shadow that moves unseen, the blade that cuts without warning. It's the difference between being a pawn in someone else's game and being the master of your own. Let's explore this further. In the digital age, oversharing is not just a habit, it's a cultural mandate. We're told to be authentic, to share our struggles, to wear our hearts on our sleeves. But authenticity without strategy is vulnerability without defense. Every post, every story, every candid moment you share is data that can be mined, manipulated, or weaponized. The colleague who sees your frustrated tweet about a project may use it to undermine your credibility. The friend who reads your heartfelt post about a breakup may exploit your pain for social leverage. Silence, in contrast, is a fortress. It protects your intentions, shields your weaknesses, and amplifies your power. Part 3. Historical Masters of the Silent Blade. History is a gallery of those who turned betrayal into triumph through strategic silence. Their stories are not just lessons, they're blueprints for power. Let's start with Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt, whose life was a masterclass in navigating treachery. Betrayed by allies, surrounded by enemies, and caught in the crosshairs of Rome's ambition, she could have crumbled. Instead, she wielded silence like a weapon. She didn't beg or barter. She observed, manipulated, and seduced, using her mystique to outwit men like Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. Her silence wasn't passive. It was strategic, a calculated dance that kept her enemies guessing and her allies enthralled. As Machiavelli might have said, she who controls the narrative controls the game. Or consider Abraham Lincoln, a man forged in the crucible of betrayal. During the Civil War, he faced slander from the press, disloyalty from his generals, and treachery from political allies. Yet Lincoln's reserved demeanor was not weakness, it was power. His silence allowed him to navigate a fractured nation, to listen to conflicting voices, and to act with devastating precision when the moment demanded. In The Prince, Machiavelli writes, "Whoever desires constant success must change his conduct with calcified precision." Lincoln embodied this, using silence to maintain control in a world determined to tear him apart. Then there's Machiavelli himself, a man who lived the very principles he preached. Exiled by the Medici family, betrayed by those he once served, he could have descended into bitterness or vengeance. Instead, he retreated into silence, not the silence of defeat, but the silence of creation. In his exile, he penned The Prince and Discourses on Livy, works that have shaped political thought for centuries. His silence was his rebellion, his legacy a testament to the power of restraint. As he wrote, "The greatest victories are those won without bloodshed." Machiavelli didn't fight his betrayers with swords, he conquered them with ideas. These figures, Cleopatra, Lincoln, Machiavelli, shared a common thread. They didn't avoid betrayal, they anticipated it. They didn't react impulsively, they responded strategically. Their silence was not an absence of action, but a deliberate choice, a chisel that carved their names into the stone of history. They understood that betrayal is not a wound to be nursed, but a tool to be wielded. Let's add another example, Queen Elizabeth I of England. Surrounded by courtiers plotting her downfall, betrayed by allies who sought to marry her off or depose her, she mastered the art of strategic silence. Her cryptic responses and measured pauses kept her enemies off balance, while her calculated displays of strength, such as her famous Tilbury speech, rallied her allies. Elizabeth didn't just survive betrayal. She thrived on it, turning every threat into an opportunity to solidify her reign. Her silence was her crown, her restraint her scepter. Part 4. The Modern Betrayal Landscape. The world has changed since Machiavelli's time, but the game of power remains eternal. If anything, betrayal is more pervasive today, amplified by the digital age. Social media is a double-edged sword. It connects us, but it also exposes us. Every post, every comment, every fleeting story is a potential chink in your armor. A single misstep, a rant about your boss, a vulnerable confession, a heated reply can be screenshot, shared, and weaponized. The colleague who sees your tweet about a bad day may use it to question your professionalism. The friend who reads your emotional post may exploit it to gain social capital. The stranger who stumbles across your profile may twist your words to fit their agenda. Workplace dynamics are no less treacherous. The modern office glorifies self-promotion, rewarding those who shout their accomplishments from the rooftops. But the loudest voices are often the first to fall. The employee who overshares their ambitions may inspire envy or distrust. The manager who speaks too freely may reveal strategies that rivals exploit. In this environment, silence is a competitive edge. It's the difference between being a target and being a titan. Modern culture also fetishizes transparency. We're told that openness is strength, that sharing our struggles builds connection. But Machiavelli's wisdom cuts through this illusion. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. The more you reveal, the more you arm your enemies. Consider a tech CEO betrayed by a co-founder who leaks proprietary information. Instead of airing their grievances on LinkedIn, they stay silent, regroup, and launch a rival startup that buries the traitor's company. Or think of a betrayed friend who doesn't confront the gossip, but quietly builds a stronger network, rendering the betrayer irrelevant. In a world where every click, every like, every DM can conceal a dagger, silence is not just strategy, it's survival. Let's delve deeper into the digital battlefield. Platforms like X, Instagram, and TikTok thrive on instant gratification, encouraging users to react, respond, and reveal in real time. But instant reactions are the enemy of power. A hasty reply to a troll, a public spat with a rival, a moment of weakness shared in a story. These are invitations to betrayal. The silent strategist, however, operates differently. They curate their presence with precision, sharing only what serves their goals. They observe trends, analyze their audience, and strike when the moment is right. Their silence is a filter, a shield, a sword. Even in personal relationships, the modern world breeds betrayal. Dating apps reduce trust to a swipe, where ghosting and deception are commonplace. Friendships are strained by social hierarchies amplified online, where a single post can spark jealousy or resentment. Families fracture under the weight of digital misunderstandings, where a misinterpreted text can ignite years of tension. In this landscape, silence is your anchor. It allows you to assess motives, to protect your heart, and to act with intention rather than impulse. Part 5. Practical applications of strategic silence. So, how do you wield the silent blade in your own life? The principles are timeless, but their application is immediate and practical. Here's a blueprint for mastering strategic silence in the modern world. 1. Assess before acting. When betrayal strikes, your first instinct is to react, to confront, to defend, to retaliate. Resist. Pause. Take a breath and analyze. Who betrayed you? Why? What are their weaknesses? What do they gain? Emotion clouds judgment. Silence clarifies it. By assessing the situation coldly, you regain control and set the stage for a calculated response. 2. Control your narrative. Every word you speak, every post you share, shapes how others perceive you. Be deliberate. In meetings, share only what advances your goals. On social media, post with purpose, not impulse. In relationships, reveal your heart sparingly, ensuring trust is earned. Less is more. The less you expose, the fewer vulnerabilities you offer. 3. Build an aura of mystery. Oversharing kills intrigue. Restraint creates it. Don't broadcast your plans, your pain, or your ambitions. Let others wonder what you're thinking, what you're planning. This mystery breeds respect, fear, or fascination, each a currency of power. A cryptic smile, a measured pause, a vague response can be more powerful than 1,000 words. 4. Strike with precision. Silence is not an end, but a means. When you act, make it count. Your silence builds anticipation, setting the stage for a move that's devastatingly effective. Whether it's a career-defining pitch, a relationship-altering conversation, or a strategic countermove against a betrayer, ensure your action is sharp, deliberate, and final. 5. Cultivate emotional discipline. Emotions are not your enemy, but unchecked emotions are. Feel the pain of betrayal, but don't let it steer you. Channel it into focus, into strategy, into power. Practice mindfulness, journaling, or meditation to master your inner world. The disciplined mind is the silent mind, and the silent mind is unconquerable. Let's apply this blueprint to real-world scenarios. Imagine you're a mid-level manager betrayed by a colleague who takes credit for your project. The room buzzes with murmurs, and your ego screams for justice. Instead, you stay silent. You document your contributions meticulously, noting every email, every draft, every meeting. You observe your colleagues' behavior, noting their overconfidence and their tendency to overpromise. Then, at the next strategic meeting, you pitch a bold new idea, one you've quietly developed in the shadows. Your boss is impressed, your colleague is exposed, and your silence has won the day. Or picture a personal betrayal. A friend spreads a rumor that tarnishes your reputation. The urge to confront them publicly is overwhelming, but you resist. You stay silent, focusing on strengthening your other relationships. You share moments of success, not pain, on social media, curating an image of resilience. Over time, the rumor fades, your network grows, and the betrayer is left irrelevant. Your silence wasn't passive. It was a campaign, waged with precision and won without a single shout. In romantic relationships, silence can be equally powerful. Imagine a partner who betrays your trust, perhaps through infidelity or deceit. The instinct is to lash out, to demand answers, to air your pain. But what if you pause? You assess their motives, their patterns, their weaknesses. You decide whether to rebuild or walk away, but you do so with clarity, not chaos. Your silence forces them to confront their actions while you reclaim your power. Whether you stay or go, you do so as the master of your destiny, not the victim of their betrayal. These scenarios illustrate a universal truth. Silence is not inaction. It's the foundation of action, the canvas on which power is painted. By mastering strategic silence, you transform betrayal from a wound into a weapon, from a setback into a springboard. Part 6. The Cost of Emotional Weakness. Let's confront a brutal reality. Emotions unchecked are your executioner. When betrayal strikes, the natural response is emotional. Anger that burns, sorrow that drowns, self-pity that paralyzes. These reactions feel justified, even righteous, but they are traps. In Discourses on Livy, Machiavelli warns, men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. The betrayed who react emotionally inspire neither. They invite pity, contempt, or worse, opportunity for further betrayal. Consider the modern world. Celebrities who overshare their pain on social media, whether it's a public breakup or a career setback, often become targets of mockery or manipulation. Their vulnerability, meant to garner sympathy, becomes a feast for trolls and opportunists. Employees who vent about a workplace betrayal, perhaps a denied promotion or a stolen idea, signal weakness, inviting colleagues to sideline or exploit them. Even in personal life, those who wear their heartbreak openly often find it used against them, whether by gossiping friends or manipulative exes. Emotional outbursts are a neon sign flashing, "Target me." They hand your power to the traitor, giving them the satisfaction of your pain and the leverage of your weakness. In contrast, strategic silence is a fortress. It denies the betrayer their victory, forcing them to question their success. It preserves your energy, your focus, your control. As Machiavelli wrote in The Prince, the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. Silence is the fox's cunning, the lion's strength, a dual force that makes you untouchable. Let's unpack this further. Emotional reactions are not just a personal failing, they're a strategic disaster. When you lash out, you reveal your playbook, your fears, your insecurities, your breaking points. The traitor, watching from the shadows, takes note. They learn how to hurt you again, how to push your buttons, how to keep you off balance. Silence, however, is a blank page. It gives nothing away, leaving your enemies grasping at shadows. It's the ultimate power move, denying your adversary the one thing they crave, your reaction. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions entirely. Feel the pain, acknowledge the anger, but don't let them steer the ship. Channel them into strategy, into discipline, into growth. The silent strategist feels deeply but acts coldly, turning the fire of betrayal into the fuel of dominance. This is the alchemy of power, and it begins with mastering your inner world. Part 7. The Transformation Through Silence. Betrayal is not your end, it's your beginning. Each stab is a lesson, each scar a blueprint for power. Machiavelli didn't see betrayal as a tragedy, but as an opportunity, a chance to forge a stronger, sharper, more resilient self. In The Prince, he wrote, the new prince must determine for himself what is to be done, relying on his own virtue. Virtue, in Machiavelli's terms, is not just virtue but strength, cunning, and adaptability. It's the ability to turn adversity into advantage, to rise from the ashes of betrayal as a force no one can touch. Think of betrayal as a forge. The pain is the fire, the silence is the hammer, and you are the blade being shaped. Every betrayal you face is a chance to refine your strategy, to sharpen your instincts, to build an unbreakable core. The silent strategist doesn't mourn the loss of trust. They celebrate the gain of wisdom. They don't dwell on the traitor's deceit. They focus on their own transformation. Let's explore this through a modern lens. Imagine an entrepreneur betrayed by a business partner who siphons funds and jumps ship. The betrayal is crippling, financially, emotionally, professionally. But instead of suing, venting, or collapsing, the entrepreneur chooses silence. They assess the damage, analyze their partner's moves, and quietly rebuild. They secure new investors, pivot their strategy, and launch a company that eclipses the traitor's efforts. The betrayal, once a wound, becomes the spark that ignites their empire. Or consider a politician betrayed by allies who leak compromising information to the press. The scandal threatens to end their career. But instead of issuing frantic denials or counterattacks, they stay silent. They regroup, rebrand, and reemerge with a platform that resonates more powerfully than ever. Their silence wasn't surrender, it was strategy, turning a moment of weakness into a legacy of strength. These transformations are not accidents, they're choices. The silent strategist chooses to see betrayal not as a dead end, but as a doorway. They choose to wield silence not as a shield, but as a sword. They choose to transform pain into purpose, to rise not despite betrayal, but because of it. This is the heart of Machiavellian power, the ability to turn the lead of adversity into the gold of dominance. Let's expand on this idea. Transformation through silence is not just about surviving betrayal, but about thriving in its wake. It's about rewriting your story, not as a victim, but as a victor. Every betrayal you face is a test of your resilience, your cunning, your control. Pass that test, and you become more than you were. Fail, and you risk becoming a footnote in someone else's story. History offers countless examples of this transformation. Julius Caesar, betrayed by his allies in the Senate, could have crumbled under the weight of treachery. Instead, his legacy, forged through strategic alliances and calculated restraint, endured beyond his death, shaping the Roman Empire. Nelson Mandela, betrayed by a system that imprisoned him for decades, used silence and reflection to emerge not as a broken man, but as a global icon of reconciliation and power. Their transformations were not born of loud defiance, but of quiet, deliberate strategy. In your own life, this transformation is within reach. The betrayal you face today, whether it's a workplace slight, a personal wound, or a public humiliation, is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of a new chapter, one you can write with the ink of silence and the pen of strategy. The question is, will you seize this opportunity or will you let it slip through your fingers? Part 8. The Modern World's False Gods. Our modern world worships false gods, transparency, authenticity, and instant gratification. We're told that sharing our truth is empowering, that vulnerability is strength, that reacting in real time is authenticity. But these are illusions, traps designed to keep you exposed and vulnerable. Machiavelli's wisdom exposes these falsehoods. In The Prince, he writes, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see but few can touch. Appearance is power, and silence is the art of controlling what others see. Transparency, for all its appeal, is a double-edged sword. In the workplace, the employee who shares every idea, every frustration, every ambition becomes a target. Their openness invites envy, theft, or sabotage. On social media, the influencer who bears their soul risks exploitation by brands, by rivals, by strangers. Even in personal relationships, oversharing can erode trust, turning intimacy into ammunition. Silence, in contrast, is a filter. It allows you to curate your image, to reveal only what serves your purpose, to maintain the upper hand. Authenticity is another modern myth. We're told to be our true selves, to reject masks and embrace raw honesty. But Machiavelli knew that power lies in performance, not exposure. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are, he wrote. The silent strategist is not inauthentic. They are deliberate. They choose when to reveal, when to conceal, when to act. Their authenticity is not in their openness, but in their control, their ability to shape their narrative without surrendering to impulse. Instant gratification is perhaps the most seductive false god. Social media thrives on it, rewarding quick reactions, viral rants, and fleeting trends. But power is not won in a moment, it's built over time. The silent strategist resists the urge to react, to respond, to chase the dopamine hit of a like or a retweet. They play the long game, building their empire brick by brick, move by move. Their silence is their patience, their restraint, their strength. These false gods, transparency, authenticity, instant gratification, are the chains of the modern world. They keep you loud, exposed, and reactive, prime targets for betrayal. The silent strategist rejects them, choosing instead the path of control, calculation, and power. They understand that in a world of noise, silence is the loudest statement of all. Part 9. The Art of Anticipating Betrayal. One of Machiavelli's greatest insights is that betrayal is not a surprise, but a constant. In The Prince, he writes, "Men forget the death of their father more easily than the loss of their inheritance." Betrayal is not about personal loyalty, it's about power, and power is a magnet for treachery. The silent strategist doesn't waste energy trying to prevent betrayal. They prepare for it, anticipate it, and use it to their advantage. Anticipating betrayal begins with understanding human nature. People are driven by self-interest, whether it's ambition, fear, or greed. The colleague who flatters you today may undermine you tomorrow if it serves their career. The friend who shares your secrets may do so to gain favor with others. The lover who vows eternity may break that vow when a better option appears. This is not pessimism, it's pragmatism. By accepting that betrayal is part of the human condition, you free yourself from the shock and prepare for the game. Anticipation requires vigilance. The silent strategist is always observing, always analyzing. They note the subtle signs of disloyalty, the colleague who asks too many questions, the friend who grows distant, the partner who shifts their tone. They don't confront these signs impulsively. They catalog them, building a mental map of motives and alliances. This vigilance is not paranoia, but preparation, ensuring they're never caught off guard. Anticipation also requires strategic positioning. The silent strategist builds alliances with care, diversifying their network to avoid dependence on any single player. They maintain a public image of strength, deterring potential betrayers. They keep their plans close, revealing only what's necessary to advance their goals. In Discourses on Livy, Machiavelli advises, "A prince must be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves." Anticipation is the fox's cunning, silence the lion's roar. Let's apply this to a modern scenario. Imagine you're a startup founder navigating a competitive industry. You know betrayal is coming. perhaps from a co-founder, an investor, or a key employee. You anticipate it by diversifying your funding sources, documenting every decision, and sharing only what's essential with your team. When a co-founder tries to oust you, you're ready, not with a public feud, but with a silent counter-move, leveraging your documentation and alliances to secure your position. Your anticipation didn't prevent betrayal, but it ensured your victory. In personal life, anticipation works similarly. A friend who begins to exclude you from plans may be signaling disloyalty. Instead of confronting them, you observe. You strengthen other friendships, build your confidence, and position yourself as indispensable. When the betrayal comes, perhaps a public slight or a shared secret, you're not shaken. You respond with silence, letting their actions expose their weakness while you rise above. Anticipating betrayal is not about living in fear, but about living in control. It's about seeing the chessboard clearly, knowing that every piece can turn against you, and planning your moves accordingly. The silent strategist doesn't wait for the dagger. They sharpen their own blade in advance. Part 10. The Legacy of the Silent Blade. The silent blade is more than a strategy. It's a legacy. Those who master it don't just survive betrayal, they redefine power itself. They become the untouchables, the architects of their own destinies, the legends who rise above the noise of the world. Machiavelli understood this. His works, born of betrayal and exile, have endured for centuries, shaping leaders, thinkers, and revolutionaries. His silence was his immortality, his restraint, his triumph. Look at the greats who followed this path. Winston Churchill, betrayed by political allies during his wilderness years, used silence to rebuild his reputation, emerging as Britain's savior in 2008 World War II. Oprah Winfrey, betrayed by a media industry that underestimated her, leveraged strategic restraint to build an empire that redefined influence. Elon Musk, facing betrayal from partners and critics alike, uses silence to let his actions, rockets, cars, AI, speak louder than any tweet. These figures didn't just wield the silent blade, they carved their names into history with it. Your legacy, too, depends on this choice. Every betrayal you face is a chance to define who you are. Will you be the one who crumbles, consumed by pain and noise? Or will you be the one who rises, silent and unstoppable, turning every wound into a weapon? The world doesn't remember the loud, the reactive, the weak. It remembers the silent, the strategic, the untouchable. Let's imagine your future. 5 years from now, you've mastered the silent blade. The colleague who betrayed you is a footnote, their career stalled by their own hubris. The friend who spread rumors is irrelevant, overshadowed by your thriving network. The lover who broke your heart watches from afar as you build a life of purpose and power. Your silence wasn't just a strategy, it was a revolution, transforming you from a victim of betrayal into a master of the game. This legacy is not built in a day. It requires discipline, patience, and an unwavering commitment to control. It requires you to reject the false gods of transparency and instant gratification, to embrace the power of restraint, to see betrayal not as a curse but as a catalyst. But the reward is worth it, a life of power, purpose, and permanence. Closing call to action. The world is a battlefield, and betrayal is its oldest weapon. But you are not defenseless. Armed with the silent blade inspired by the timeless wisdom of Machiavelli, you can turn every stab into a stepping stone, every wound into a crown. The choice is yours, but the clock is ticking. Will you let betrayal define you, or will you define it? Will you be the pawn who falls or the king who conquers? Don't wait for the next dagger to strike. Subscribe now, dive deeper into the art of strategic silence, and start mastering the game of power today. Join a community of silent strategists, learn the tactics that have shaped history, and build a legacy that no traitor can touch. Because in a world of betrayers, only the silent rise to rule. The question is, will you be one of them?